Namathu Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Zim, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening, everyone. So today is Thursday, the 6th of May, 2021. This is Ajahn Sujan from Warapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. Namaste, Monit, Anish from Thailand, Pisanulok, Mahalo Margaret, hello Simon from Italy, Margaret Kingswells, Aberdeen, and everyone. So today I have good news. Hello Manish from London, I hope you're keeping well over there. I heard that some Indian variants are visible in London, so take care and be mindful as well. I've also got this vaccination appointment letter today. The appointment is on the 12th of May at 11:45. So, exciting moment. There is a little bit of a fear what will be happening, and meanwhile it's quite exciting. Yeah? So this is vaccination time. Today also the Scottish election. That election is coming up today. I have also voted. And no, monks are not allowed to engage in a political agendas and should not be engaged in a political propaganda, but I have already done. I have voted. So, and meanwhile in Thailand there have been a very interesting discussion going on that some of the monks commented on politics, and the Sangha Council have issued a letter to do some what's called a legally what is it called, legal things going on, investigation. Okay, me frozen. I'm okay. Well, Anish, Dr. Anish, I'm not sure which will be I'm going to get it, whether it's AstraZeneca or something. It doesn't say anything in this letter. I was told that you will be told at the very last end before giving you the injection. So I will know by then. Not sure, Margaret, that why I am frozen in your mobile phone. Hope it will sort out shortly. Right, so I have started focusing on certain aspects of a Buddha's teachings, which I started yesterday, focusing on the 5 aspects or faculties that one has to develop. And those are, number 1, faith, number 2, energy, or the effort, and number 3, mindfulness, number 4, concentration, and number 5, wisdom. So remember, these are the 5 faculties. Okay? Faith, effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. And on that aspect, yesterday I was talking about the faith, and in that faith I was talking on the 3 aspects of a faith: the Buddha, the teachings, and the karma, learn the rebirth. So on that basis, I was thinking that I will give you further information, or will discuss on the qualities of the Buddha, and which will give you basically an overview of what the Buddha means. And as we know that the word Buddha is like a title once you have studied a bachelor or the PhD, and you will be writing on your name before your name is a DR or a doctor. So the Buddha is something like that, but it's not easy attainment this Buddhahood, like you're going to university, studying for 2-3 years and gaining this doctorate degree. So the Buddha is like that. And meanwhile, in terms to in order to understand the word of Buddha, and again, we have been chanting it every single day, twice a day at least. And you may have heard it's called Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijjacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavido Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarathi Sattha Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagava. So that is the quality of the Buddha, which I will be talking each one of them at least every night. So it starts from Arahang, which means the pure one, and the second is a Samma Sambuddho, the perfectly enlightened one, self-enlightenment. The third one is Vijja Charana Sampanno, he is impeccable in conduct and understanding. Sugato, the accomplished one. Lokavido, the knower of the worlds. And here again is talking about the different worlds. It also confirms that it's not just a one world, but there are thousands of world systems that that the Buddha had realized and have spoken about it, which again categorize into 3 different worlds. We will come to discuss on that. And then Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarathi. So he trains perfectly those who wish to be trained. Remember, who wish to be trained. So there is no force involved. Yeah, there is no conversion involved. Okay, he is only a person who would like to know, who would like to be trained. So that's the beauty of a Buddha's training system. And then the Sattha Deva Manusanang. So he is the teacher of gods and humans. And here gods and humans, basically gods refer to the celestial beings. And the reason here the celestial beings are referred simply because among the daily life of the Buddha, the timetable in the night, second night, he normally will discuss or he normally will teach to the devas, the celestial beings, on different aspects. And sometimes celestial beings come down for the clarification on certain things and certain teachings. And there are plenty of examples that refer to the discourses and teachings, and even the celestial beings' teachings are included in the suttas. So that's why he is known as the teacher of gods and humans. And then the Bhagava, the last word is a Bhagava, which basically means who is fully awake and holy. Right? Fully awake and holy. And this Bhagava is the main root that it's been used in so many countries as to refer the Supreme God as a Bhagavan. Yeah, Bhagavan or a Bhagavan. Yeah, Bhagavan. So that's the word that comes from this Pali word Bhagava, which means fully awake and holy. Or in Nepal or in India, Southeast Asia use this Bhagava, referring to a holy one, the holy one. So we will be focusing on this, the praise of the Buddha, or the recollection of the Buddha, that why he is known as the Buddha on the basis of this, on these 9 qualities. So this is Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijjacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarathi Sattha Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagavati. So that is the virtue, the principles or qualities of the Buddha that we will be focusing on these coming days. But before going into that, I just wanted to give you a brief a history that where he was born and how long did it take to be enlightened, and how long did he stay after his enlightenment. So basically, he was born in Lumbini, the garden, which is now in Nepal, in southern Nepal, and I have been a couple of times, many times actually, and it's Lumbini, and sometimes people also question that whether Buddha was really born there or not. And we have a historical evidence of the King Asoka, who established this stone pillar in the spot where Buddha was born. And on that pillar, written that the Buddha was born there, or the son of the Sakyans who became the Buddha was born in that place. And this stone pillar again established not immediately after he was born, but it was established around after 300 years later. 300 years later, and this established by the King Asoka, the emperor of ancient India. And he even said in that pillar that he came to visit on a pilgrimage, and with the veneration he paid respect and established this pillar. And this area was covered, it was a dense forest those days, and no one know, and some villages have seen just a small shrine there and taken it as a Hindu deity and worshipped. Every year there is a Rumande goddess celebration going on even today. As a part of ancient practice, the villagers, because of not knowing that place was the Buddha's birthplace, but having seen the statue, people simply went and worshipped there as a Hindu deity. And that was in the forest, dense forests. And it happened that during the colonial time, British colonial in India, somehow the British colony, during that time, some British staffs, those who were living in India, come across with the diary written by a Chinese pilgrimage. Who is about 2nd or 3rd century BC. So this was after the King Asoka. And these, on the basis of that records, so British staffs tried to find out different places of the Buddha related to the Buddha's places. And I presume that was initially started with a hunting treasure. Yeah, that was initial intention, the hunting treasure, because it's been a history that every historical places, people in the history, the place where it's related to the faith and the beliefs, they normally put the treasures, and that's been on the part of this treasure hunting. And during this time of a treasure hunting, somehow they followed these records, and that's how these places been found, and established the locations, and also found those inscriptions, and that's how they historically proven that this is the place where the Buddha was born. And meanwhile, as one place found from the records, they have tried, they chased each and individual places, and eventually they found almost all the area of a Buddha's area during the time of the Buddha. So that's how historically all the Buddhist places been recorded, proven, and and it's historically proven places, and that also historically proven that the Buddha was exist 2,600 years ago. And that's how. And again, the one funny thing is that all the historical sites of the Buddha was discovered by not Buddhists. It's done by British colonial commanders, those who were in India, or the so-called those who are interested in the treasure hunting. And that's how it was invented, discovered, and then they put in the world education, and that's how the whole these places discovered, which is quite interesting. So that's why we have to give a lot of credit to the British colony, who had done a tremendous work to bring the light on the Buddha's pilgrimage sites and the Buddha's teachings. So the more they went into treasure hunting, they found more historical facts, and they found lineages and so on. And with that, Buddhism becomes like a historically proven kind of a religion or a faith that prevails in the modern world. And further on, that this after this place, the language been proven, and a language been discovered, the history been discovered, and so on. And here today, actually, I wasn't thinking of going into that much detailed history, but I was thinking just to give you a brief biography, but how somehow it's carried away. Anyway, so, and after his birth, he was taken to the Kapilavastu, which is not that far away from the place where he was born. Again, he wasn't born in a palace. Although he was a prince, but he wasn't born in a palace. And this is again the quite interesting history that during the time of his period, 2,600 years ago, at that time, the tradition was that after you become pregnant, rather than giving a birth in a husband's family, normally you would travel to your own motherland. Possibly it's a psychological effect, and psychologically feeling safer with a maternal family, and that was the tradition. And it similar happened to the Buddha as well. The history says, the legend, in fact, says that when he was due to delivery, he was, his mother was traveling from the Kapilavastu to the Devadaha. In between, this Lumbini garden or Lumbini forest lies, and where between these two places, by the time when the Maya Devi, Buddha's mother, arrived, so she had a delivery pain, and gave birth to him in that forest. So that's why he was born in the forest. So Prince was born in the forest. Okay? And this is in Lumbini. And this Lumbini became the World Heritage Center, and it's a vast land been located for the heritage, UN heritage site. And nowadays, if you Google it, the area in Nepal, Lumbini sites, on the place which is designated to be a place of a Buddha's birthplace, been well forestly planted. The rest of other places are just empty. You won't find any trees. So that's quite interesting. With this designated place, nature has also flourished as well. Okay? And then so he went back to his mother took him back to the Kapilavastu, and stayed in a Kapilavastu, and he was celebrated in Kapilavastu, and in the meanwhile he was predicted, and now this is how it comes here. He was predicted that he will be the king or emperor, or he will be the sage or the monk, a mendicant. And this is again on the basis of the Indian astrology. Indian astrology that time looking at the people's so-called characters in the complexion. After looking at the complexion, in those days, the priest will be able to define that this person will be or what will be in the future. And there were, the legend said that after he was born, 108 very learned priests were invited to check his destiny, and among those 108, only a few were chosen, and out of 108, and a few were chosen, and then they decided that one group said that he will be the king, and then he will be either the king or the sage, the great sage. And there was one particular very young learned man, learned a monk, a mendicant, a so-called Brahmin. He said that he will be the Buddha, the sage. And that's how he was caged. He didn't have a chance to go learn something or outside of the palace. So he was kept in the palace, or kind of a homeschooling. It's like nowadays you can't go out because of the COVID-19, and you have a homeschooling. And in those days also he was homeschooled because of a fear. The king had a fear that he would see old age, sickness, and death, and that's how he will be leaving the palace. And rather than becoming an emperor, he will be the sage, the ascetic. So the king wanted to prevent. So he organized all the homeschooling. So the young prince had schooling at his own palace. So he never had a chance to go beyond the palace. So nowadays, like COVID-19, this is the time that you can't go, although you want to. So it's COVID-19 become kind of a barrier that you can't go beyond your own houses if you want to keep yourself safe. So those days, the prince, the king, simply wanted the prince to be the king, the future king. So that's how he was caged, and he had this old homeschooling was there. But the destiny was that he will be the Buddha, he will be the great sage. So at the age of 29, somehow he came across with these signs, or so-called the marks of knowing or understanding that why do we have to get sick, why do we have to get old, and why do we have to die. So these questions bothered him, and then later on he gave up palace life. And when he gave up palace life and stayed for 6 years studying in different places, and went to study with the great masters, contemporary great masters on those days. And after studying all, he was dissatisfied with that and finding that that wasn't the path that he was looking. So he went alone and practiced alone. And this is basically, in my understanding, it's not just the knowledge that we gain. Once we have studied, once we have gained the knowledge, we have to practice. And that's what I think he did. After he studied with different teachers in different places, he went on and investigated the teachings that he had learned. And he went alone and investigated by himself. And after thorough investigation, and eventually at the age of 35, he became an enlightened one. So that is the attainment of a doctorate degree in Buddhism. Okay, this is a doctorate degree in Buddhism, and that's how he is known as the Buddha. That means a person who knows, or a person who has known what should be known directly, and a person who has abandoned what should be abandoned, a person who has developed things that should be developed. So that is how a Buddha arose in the world at the age of 35 of his age. And after his attainment of enlightenment, again he spent about 45 years teaching and sharing his invention, his discovery to the world. And now, when we look at the history of a history of a religion, we find that there are none who work that many years spreading his findings or his theory in the world. There are none. And again, during the 45 years of his dispensation of a teaching, he never had any conflict with anyone. He didn't have a fight. He wasn't expelled. And he didn't have any conflict with anybody, apart from everybody were welcoming him and everybody wanted to listen his teachings, and which is quite different than any other faith, any other religion in the world that we find today. And that's what actually drawn me to Buddhism even more greater as well. Look at the all like Christianity, Islam, or Jewish, or even the Hinduism, and even the Sikhs. And majority of the religion developed on the basis of some form of a conflict. Whereas this Buddhism, I found it really fascinating to see that there wasn't any conflict with it at all. And for 45 years, the Buddha was able to travel so vast area of Indian plateau and taught his findings without any trouble, to whether it was with the religious leaders or whether it was to the governors and kings in those days. And peacefully he was spreading it, and eventually at the age of 80 he passed away. And again, when he passed away, everybody, not only one country, but so many countries, kings and dignitaries came to pay respect and took away his teachings in that way. So which is quite really different. And that's what probably that's on the basis of it. Buddhism is known as a religion of peace, and whoever come across with it, normally they feel peace within as soon as they come across with the teachings. So I have to stop here for tonight. Unfortunately, I haven't touched any planned topics that I was supposed to be starting on the qualities of the Buddha, just the background of the Buddha's life, history. So we will continue from again tomorrow. So thank you everyone for joining with me tonight, and continue following days. May you be well and happy. See you shortly for the chanting and guided meditation. May the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. May you all be well and happy. Sadhu. Thank you.